Hey folks, it's Joe with Creekside Cabin Games here, and I'm going to fill you in on what we've been working on the last week. I'm just going to hop right in here. The first thing we added was pickups. So if you remember SSX, and I'm not sure if it was in other games, but SSX Tricky had snowflakes that you could pick up in midair to multiply your score. So here we got it here. We got 2, 3, and 5x multipliers. So we'll just go through the level. I think there's one at the top of this next hill. It's a little harder to get. But you can see when you get it, yeah, I missed that one. But it adds a little it adds a multiplier to your score. Here we go. Oh, I overshot it. Anyhow, I didn't really tune in and tweak exactly where the locations of these objects are. But that's the idea. You hit the pickup and it explodes and you multiply your score. Other thing I want you to see here is this trail. This is the locations where the player has been. And in the background you'll see some pink dots there. And that's the last run through the level. So every time we shut down the game, we save the last trail created, and every time we start up the game, we print the trail. So what that's going to help me do is tweak the locations of where I put pickups and stuff like that. So that's kind of what inspired me. It was hard to place things where I wanted to. Like, for example, this was super hard to figure out where to put this little jump and this ramp, because I wanted to make it really hard to get on there. So you have to boost from somewhere around here and then jump perfectly to get on there. So I tried it 100 times to get it just right. But if I had had the trail, I could have seen where I went and tweaked it just slightly, right? So I could take a fixture. I mean, this is silly and just kind of a silly example, but I could move it down a little bit, and remember where that position was and apply it. Anyhow, I'm going to stop the game, and you'll see when I restart, the pink trail will be the old green trail. Unless there's a bug. It's totally possible there's a bug. I haven't really tested this a ton, because I just kind of implemented it and made sure it worked. And let's pause and see. So yeah, so it's not totally working. It seems like it's not overwriting the first pink trail that we make. I think there may not be the code available to overwrite. Well, that's cool. Now I got something to work on. Okay. The last couple of things, I wanted to add boss levels. So I said, all right, how do I make sure that if the player makes a bunch of mistakes, can they keep fighting the boss? So I needed a perpetual level, right? So let me open up the boss level and show you what I did here. I need a level that never ends. Oh, here we go. What do we got? This is where the player starts. We got our upside down pipe and checkpoint like we usually do. And I've added a platform to the start, which I'm going to do on the rest of the levels, because that way when I move the start around, I can move this platform too, and therefore I always have a nice place to start. I don't have to tweak exactly where the pipe lets out so that my player doesn't crash. Okay. Then we got a whole bunch of shit going on here, right? The red one is the boss spawner. Once the player crosses this threshold, the boss spawns. Not of huge importance right now, but what are very important, we have this orange bar. We have this checkpoint bar. The green one is the checkpoint. The orange one we'll talk about in just a second. We have the orange orb down here. And then we have this black bar. And then over here we have a couple copies of it. So I learned the importance of item pooling, game object pooling this week, because I was trying to generate these chunks just from a prefab rather than initializing them beforehand. which I learned is a huge mistake. So here's what this is composed of. Obviously we have our land, the white, that's what we slide on. Then we have the checkpoint, so once you hit this green, then that's your checkpoint. No matter if you start from the beginning or if we tile 100 of these down, you will always be on at the checkpoint of the platform you're on. Always. Because you don't spawn the next platform until you hit the orange, okay? When you hit the orange, one of these platforms spawns at this orb. And what's super stupid is like the center point for this platform could be anywhere. Like it's not visually in the center. Like it doesn't take the four corners of this and put it right here. It's like where the mass is. So it's like somewhere over here. It's like when I spawn here, this tip over here lines up with the end tip here. And the black bar tells it to go back into cache and be ready to be picked up again. So when the player crosses the black bar, it moves this chunk back here, and the player will at the same time be crossing the green bar, right? And will already be on the next platform. So that's about it. Unless, you know what, I think this black bar despawns. Let's see how this works. I kind of forget, it's been all weekend. Fixtures, platforms, and then the generated platforms. And these have a platform despawn trigger, and it despawns the corresponding spawn trigger. Okay, so I see it. We configure the spawn. So it backs up to, I think. Let's see how it works. I think this deletes the platform, this black bar, the player crossing it deletes the platform that spawned the player. Except in the first case where it despawns itself. Let's just watch. Hold on, I'm gonna start it again without maximizing the game view. I'm gonna watch it in the scene view. So when we cross the first black line, we don't despawn anything until we hit the second black line. And then you see we despawn and respawn as we go. What's interesting is the first chunk's cache position is back in the beginning, so you'll see it go back there sometimes. But anyway, no matter how fast we go now, like we won't outrun the platform, so we can just go forever. And another thing that happens, that's kind of interesting how how my trail keeps printing right on the same spots, because the game area changes. So this isn't, the trail printer isn't going to work on the boss levels. But anyway, the level bounds change every time a platform spawns. So even though it shows on the game view over here, or the scene view, it's in the game, allowing the camera to continue traveling right and down, even though we're beyond the level bounds. So that, oh yeah, and then you may be asking, what is this green and red and blue thing? So that is the boss game object, which isn't really doing anything yet. Okay, so it just spawns this game object. That's interesting. I think this is an extra game object. So the boss spawn. Oh yeah, it spawns it under the camera, right? So I found it better to have the boss and the enemy carrier, the dragon, attached to the camera. It makes it move. It moves smoothly. So you see, there's like very little variance, but it is a little squishy. Like it doesn't move strictly the same way the player does. There's a little bit of damping because of a lerp I put in there. It lerps faster if it's further away and more slowly if it's close. So it's just like a little bit of a creamy movement for the boss there. And when I stop, it adjusts. And no matter what the orthographic zoom is, the boss stays close to the bottom right corner. So we can pick any position on the screen for it to stay near. If you go back and look at the old videos of the enemy carrier, you know, the dragon on the battle level, it's like really jerky and dissatisfying to watch. Anyway, I think that's it for our update this week. We're going to work on making the boss functional now, attacking the player and taking damage from the player. Thank you all for tuning in and the continued support. Please let me know if there's anything you'd like to know more about in the comments, and I'll maybe make another video for you. Take it easy.